This is an important step of the reassembly. This area right in here is the main area that causes this hub to be seized in there, that makes it so difficult to take this out. So, of course, the new hub is nice, clean, bare metal, but this area right here is all rusty. Also want to clean the face here. There's some rust on this, but mainly it's where this is pushed into this hole right here that it rusts real bad. It seizes in there. So I'm going to clean that up now. All right, so I'm going to use one of these 3M bristle discs to clean up that face. And I just want to add, you don't want to breathe in the dust from this. It's not healthy for you. So, dust mask, eye protection, hearing protection. If I had some Never-Seez compound, I probably would put some on here. Putting some on the splines, partly to help me slide this on, and partly to help keep moisture from corroding this too soon. Chances are hopefully by the time this wheel bearing wears out again, well, misspoke. What I mean to say is, this wheel bearing should last long enough that by the time I go to take this off, this grease will have long since stopped doing its job. But I've got this white lithium grease handy, so I'm going to use it. Same thing here. This will keep this from seizing in here. It might make it a little bit easier next time this has to be removed. Last person who worked on this, they put Never-Seez on the threads for the axle nut, and they put Never-Seez on the threads of all the wheel studs. But I didn't see any evidence that they put Never-Seez on any of these parts, so that's kind of interesting. These bolts that retain the hub in there, they're rusty on the very end, so I'm going to go hit those with the wire wheel. This is where it can get a little tricky, because this hub is heavy. The hub and the rotor combined make it heavy. And I don't mean like, oh, it's so heavy you can't lift it. I mean it's like heavy to try and hold. Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. Sometimes it just goes in easy. And if you've got a drift pin like this one, a taper to it, it's a handy way to, the hole's close but not perfectly aligned, it's a handy way to wedge it over. And I should have moved the wheel. That made life easier. Alright, so I got one of the bolts started, and you don't want to tighten it all the way up until you get all four of them in. Alright, so what I did was I tightened up the 4 bolts that hold the hub on. I put my extra long breaker bar on there and just torqued them down as tight as I can get them. I tried to find torque specs in the service manual that I have, and they actually don't even list them. They just say that those are just supposed to be really, really tight. And then as far as the axle nut goes, also no torque specs, because I think the basic principle here is this axle nut is supposed to be just tight enough so that it fully seats. So what you do is you tighten it until it fully seats, and then back it off just far enough so that the cotter pin will line up in one of the grooves. And that's basically it. That's why this was so loose when I went to take it off. If you do over tighten this, if you just like crank down on this over tight, it can actually cause premature failing of the bearing. That's according to the manufacturer of the replacement hub assembly. So I don't want to do that. Then I reinstalled the brake caliper. If you're fortunate, nobody stepped on the brakes during the entire time that you had this off, it'll slide right back on. And those Allen head cap screws, those in this particular application are torqued to 38 foot-pounds, but that may vary for different models, different makes, different years. So obviously you don't want to go by that number for yourself if you're doing this on your own vehicle. And then so I got that tightened down. So all that's left to do now is get the front wheel back on. I'm gonna have to get the truck jacked up a little more. I had relocated the jack because it was sinking into the ground underneath here, and every time I was turning the wheel, because the other wheel's on the ground, it was moving the truck, and the jack started to like sink in. It was kind of caving in. It was an unsafe situation, so I had to rectify that. So now I'm going to see if I can hopefully jack it up enough from the front. If not, then I'm going to have to put a jack stand in and figure something else out. Get the front wheel on, torque the front wheel lug nuts, which is to 130 to 150 foot-pounds per lug nut. And then I think you go probably about 50 to 75 miles of driving, and then you should retorque them. Now we get to put the wheel back on. Fun. Always looks high enough till you go to put the wheel on. Why doesn't this fit? Oh.
What?
Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm trying to put this wheel on. I'm like, how come this won't fit on here? And it's like, well, it would help if I put the wheel extension on, which is
What brings it out?
what brings it out so that it can clear this. Duh. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, there's no physical way that this can fit in the rim. That's why they make this extension. All right. Oh. Sometimes when you press fit these studs in from the back side, they don't end up being perfectly perpendicular to this front face. So then when you go to put this on, a couple of them are not in proper alignment, so you end up with trouble. So you can figure out which ones are the crooked ones and tap them straight with a piece of brass at the very end here. Then you can put this together. Clearly one or more of these studs was out of alignment. So what I did was I took my 1, 2, 3 block, or anything with a good sharp right angle on it you could use. And I just hold it up and I sight down the side and see how the alignment is. You can do it on 2 sides. So this is a nice flat surface here, and these are perpendicular to this flat surface in all directions. They all look pretty good except for this one. And I could see a little metal burr right there. So I think what happened was they didn't do a good job deburring this after it was machined. And that burr got stuck in there and caused this not to want to seat as well. But I took a brass drift, held it on the very end here, and tapped it into alignment, and it looks good now. So now that they all look good, let's see if that solves my problem. Well, it's darn close now. Something still seems off somewhere. Must be one of these bottom ones. I'll bring the bottom ones up on the top where it's easier to see them. This one looks like it come up just a smidge. There's one noisy duck. Hey Mark, Here, you want to help me?
Yeah.
You can put these nuts on. You got to use this wrench. Like a clock, like the hands on a clock.
Should I do it this way?
What on earth are you doing?
Should I do it this way or this way?
That way. Like the hands on a clock,
I am.
not a digital clock. I think you should use this thing because you seem to really be having trouble with that end. See? Based on the way you're handling that wrench, Mark, I would say you will probably be a good engineer. So, inside joke between us working people. Oh, excuse you.
Can you move it back this way?
Wait.
Why don't you take this rust off?
Because it's all it's holding the truck together. It's rust.
Really?
Take all the rust off and the thing would just fall apart maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Is that the last one? Can you move it over some? This way?
You know what? Let me get out of your way. You actually stand up and work for a living. All right. You keep working on that. I'll go in and get a cool drink.
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Daddy, can I wear a glove?
Huh?
Can I wear a glove?
All you're touching is the wrench. The wrench is clean.
So I can wrench to tighten it?
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm going to have to tighten it. The heck was that?
That?
Oh, no, somebody's starting their weed whacker. Now we're cooking. Careful, don't rub your pants on those studs that are sticking out because they have this nasty grease on them called anti-seize, and it's messy.
I don't know. I was just minding my own business, and then all of a sudden things happened. I really don't care.
What happened, Mommy?
Mark, this is crawl in there and get that out. It's too dangerous for me to do.
What if it falls on me?
Well, then there'll be one less child for supper tonight.
Hey,
It can't fall on you because the wheel's on. You see how far it could fall? 2 inches. Are you thicker than 2 inches? I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
No, go put it with the other one.
Ah.
I don't even know if this torque wrench goes up to 150. 150? Special wrench. I have it set to 145 foot-pounds. That's a way to measure how tight it is.
Can I see how you set it to? Is that like a control thing?
This knob, you turn this knob and the number changes right there. Can you read it? 145. All right, I just torqued them all down to 145, and then at some point, after about 50 miles of drive time, I'll retorque them. And that's it. All that remains is the all-important test drive, but I'm sure it'll be all set. And then next time, I don't know, I might shift to the Dodge Dakota and put the exhaust on that first, but at some point I've got to do the upper and lower ball joints on the passenger side on this truck. So that'll be coming up.